What's going on, everybody? Chris Fox, yards after the catch. You know what time it is. It's time to yak some football. Let's go. Time to figure out who you should and who you should not be getting. I am Chris Fox, and as with me, as always, the best co-host in all the land. It is Roop. There it is. Find Roop. There it is at on Twitter at Mr. Football today. Roop, there it is. How are you doing, brother?
I'm a hot mess, to be honest with you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a couple weeks. It's 4 weeks down. I'm 1-3 in the league, and I've lost by 2 points, 4 points, and 6 points. I'm 12 points away from being 4-0, and I'm screaming. Do I need help or am I okay? Should I panic? And that's what we're here to talk about. I mean, best host in the world is going to show us how to do that tonight. What do you think? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And yeah, we are definitely going to get into that because you are not the only one that this has happened to. And the fact of the matter is, I guess there are people out there that are that are 0-4 right now. I mean, and it's by a couple points and it's close stuff. And, it's just ridiculous. Some of the beats that people are getting. I had a guy today. I mean, his roster's loaded. He's got Kelsey. I want to say he had Kelsey, he had Cup, he got Prescott, and he's 0-4. And I can't imagine, what happened to this poor guy to end up with that kind of record with that type of roster. But I'll tell you one thing that probably happened is he got bad waiver wire advice because he was listening to everybody spit out the same information over the same names over and over and over. I tell you, there's like 10 guys out there that actually research this stuff and they put it out and everybody else just copies it. And all you see and hear is the same names over and over and over. You don't hear why, you just hear the name because they had a big week and that's who you should take. Sometimes that's true. Most of the time it is not. A lot of people talking about Elijah Mitchell. A lot of fab dollars were spent on Elijah Mitchell. We told you not to do it, and I wish you guys could have your dollars back. Christian Kirk, we were a little split on it. We said maybe you got some. We told you not to do it, and we hope that you didn't. Look, and the story is out there, and that is the fun of the waiver wire. Is you take a chance, you roll the dice, you have to drop somebody to grab somebody, and hopefully it pays off. But there's just a lot of uninformed decisions that are made, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah. The funny thing is like some people are getting the targets on 1 week and then the next, and you really have to hit them on the right week. And Kirk was one of them where last week it just didn't pay off.
Yeah.
I learned something really important that I want to kind of start the show off. I started Tennessee at Jacksonville for Thursday night, and I learned something. I am never, ever, ever starting a defense on a Thursday night ever again. And that's what I learned this week because it didn't pay off in a great
Yeah.
matchup.
You're not the only one, again, because, that's what all the experts were saying. That's one of the ones that everybody was just kind of regurgitating and it made sense. We said it. We said it last week. We said anybody that's playing the Jets, play them. So Tennessee rolled that defense, and my wife rolled Tennessee's defense. A lot of people rolled it, and they got burned big time. A lot of people picked up Indy's defense. or excuse me, Miami's defense, because they were playing Indy, quarterbackless Indy, shambles, and we got burnt. The stuff like that happens. But hopefully we can prevent that from happening again. We're 80% or better on waiver wire picks. So thank you for joining us tonight. And hopefully we're going to be able to help you guys out. We're not doing as great on the start or sit-ems, but waiver wire picks, we're batting pretty good. So before we can get to the waiver wire picks, let's talk about some of the big injuries that are driving these picks. We know Montgomery's out 4 to 5 weeks. Williams is going to be someone we're going to talk about, and we should be because regardless of how you feel about him, he's going to be in there for 4 to 5 weeks. We'll talk about what you should do with him, if you should waste the money on him, because you're going to have to spend to get him this week. Garoppolo could come back for week 5, but let's be honest, he's not going to, because they have a bye in week 6. They're going to let Trey Lance roll week 5, let Garoppolo have the 2 weeks to heal himself. So we're going to talk about Trey Lance. Chark is on IR, so we're going to talk about the effects of that. Fuller's week to week with broken finger. T. Higgins is week to week. He actually may be back in week 5. C-Mac is also week to week. He's practicing again, will not likely be back in week 5. But, C-Mac owners, get a little pumped. He's on his way. It's close. Logan Thomas is hurt on the Washington football team. Washington football team is all hurt. But we're going to talk about if you should still be picking up Taylor Heineke or not. Mixon is week to week. Actually likely to play this week, but we'll see. Denver's defense is missing Surtain. The Chargers are missing their star linebacker. Just found out just a little bit ago that Chris Carson has been dealing with a neck injury. With them playing on Thursday, very likely Chris Carson isn't going to go this week. So what's that going to do? This is where waiver wire is driven, is by injuries. So that's just a quick rundown of the injuries. Let's talk about what that's going to do for us.
Yeah, there's so many injuries. And like we said early on in the show, that it's a long season. Be prepared. And if you have space, go ahead and get those backups, because it is going to pay off. I had Madison, last week when Cook was out, and it paid off. And I dropped him because, there was another pickup I had to do. You have to play those waiver wires. You have to check it every week. And you should watch the show, because we're going to give you some ideas of who you should lean towards and give you something a little different than everybody else is giving you.
Absolutely. So with no further ado, let's get into it. Let's play Waiver Why or Why Not. First waiver wire picks, of course, we always start at the quarterbacks. Number one waiver wire pick at quarterback for me, I don't think I'm going to get a lot of argument on this one, is Sam Darnold. The guy's destroying. Do you know who the number one leader in rushing touchdowns for the entire NFL is? I'll give you a hint. He's in Carolina, and I just mentioned his name. It's Sam Darnold with 5 rushing touchdowns. No running back has more than 4. Pretty crazy. Has to do with matchups, but people are just not accounting for this guy. QB 5 overall, 5 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, 3 consecutive 300-yard games. He's got Philly next, who's allowed 9 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. He's got Minnesota after that, giving up 90 points over the year. Over 1,100 yards, 6 passing touchdowns to quarterbacks, and a rushing touchdown. And the Giants after that, who are giving up 99 points so far this year to quarterbacks, just under 1,100 yards, 7 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, things are just set up for Darnold nicely.
Yeah, I don't know why he's even available. If he is, take him. He should be gone. But if he is there, what are you waiting for? This is the guy that's putting him in. The time CMC is gone, he's watched CMC run, and he's figuring it out, and he's taking those touchdowns. So pick the guy up. I mean, it's, at least for another couple of weeks, he's going to be pretty good. And he's been passing. So, I mean, top 5 quarterbacks should not be on the waivers.
Yeah, he's only 28%, approximately 28% rostered taken right now. So he's out there in your league. You will see an effect when C-Mac comes back, because you're right, he is picking up those C-Mac touchdowns. But you know what? DJ Moore is fire right now. They just got Curtis Samuel back. So when C-Mac comes back, there's really no reason for Darnold's numbers fantasy points wise to go down. Remember, points over stats, everybody. So I think the points are still going to be there even when C-Mac comes back. It just might not be in the form of rushing touchdowns.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I got a funny question. Why is it that Taysom Hill and Mac Jones both have more points than Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah, I mean, Roethlisberger's not 100% health wise. They've been very candid with that. The guy's getting older. I mean, the guy's got the talent around him, and he's just struggling to do anything with it. I'm surprised that he's having this issue, but Roethlisberger is someone, if you have him, drop him. He's not gonna like suddenly blow up into this fantasy relevant quarterback. He may be able to get the wins to take his team somewhere, but like Mac Jones and Taysom Hill, their fantasy numbers are not going to be there. And Mac Jones is successful. He's playing very well. He went toe-to-toe with Brady, looked very good, but he's just not going to be a points monster right now.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about it. Ben with a pectoral issue, and now I think today was a hip issue, and he is on one of my teams, and I'm really thinking of dropping him. And you play these favorites of like, I love this quarterback, or I love this team, or however you feel. Sometimes you just got to cut ties. I love the way that Ben's end of the year, playoff timing is, where he's had some pretty good matchups. And I'm thinking, can I really sit him on my bench until then? And I'm really thinking about dropping him, to be honest with you. It's not going to benefit me to just take that spot up when I need to score points because I need to win now. I have to get into the playoffs. If I fail in the playoffs, fine. But you have to get there first. So sometimes you do have to cut ties. And this is the week where we said, about week 4, you're going to figure out what people are doing and what they're worth. And right now I'm thinking it's time to cut ties with a few players.
No, absolutely. He's definitely someone, as you're making your waiver wire pickups, if you are still hanging on to him, if you still have him on your roster, he's one of the guys you can drop to pick up a better player. And if you're looking to pick up a quarterback, Sam Darnold is definitely one of them. Taylor Heineke definitely could be another one. Guy's throwing 70%, 3 touchdowns, 13 rushes, and 2 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. He's got New Orleans coming up, who's just given up just under 1,200 yards this year and 5 passing touchdowns. Then he's got Kansas City, which are primed for shootouts. They've been doing nothing but letting teams throw the ball and getting into those. They've given up over 1,200 yards and 7 passing touchdowns, not to mention 2 rushing touchdowns. Green Bay just under 1,000 yards, but 10 passing touchdowns the Green Bay defense has given up. So Heineke again, and a rushing touchdown. Heineke again set up schedule-wise for success. So if you can't get Darnold, or if you don't want to put the bid in on Darnold, maybe put it in on Heineke if you still want to do that.
Yeah, I'll be taking.
I picked him up last week myself. He was great.
Yeah, I'll take Heineke if I can find him, because Ben will be available after the waivers clear. Just letting everybody know, because it's time to pick up somebody else, somebody who's actually healthy and scoring touchdowns. Even though it's a little shaky over there, I think Heineke still has the ability to run. And so when he does that, that's actually going to benefit your team as well. Although it's only a short time, I loved what I saw from Trey Lance. He was electric. He came in at the second half, and what did he score? Like 9 of 18 for like 157 yards, a couple touchdowns, ran for like 40 something. So you're looking at a full game of 300 plus yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns if you're going to be modest. That's something that is going to be a good filler for this next week, especially if Garoppolo was your guy, because Garoppolo is not going to play the next 2 weeks because of the bye. So just swap him in and swap him out. Like, you have to just play that wire to get those players in your lineup and then release them. If, maybe something else happens. Maybe it'll be long term. We don't know, but that's why you got to watch next week's show so you can learn those things for that as well. So that's why we got to stay on top of it. We got to do this work so you guys can see, and we'll try to give you the best information we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on with the numbers. Trey Lance, looking good. He's definitely, in my opinion, going to play this week, so you can get something there. I still believe like does everybody else that Trey Lance is eventually going to be the starter. He's got the weapons around him. He's definitely got the talent. 7 rushes for half a game for 41 yards. That could equate to something nice later on. You definitely get something out of that. Trey Lance is going to be someone a lot of people are going for this week. Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are going to be the 2 guys that people are really going to be hot on this week. But if you can land a Trey Lance, you might have to sit him a few weeks and wait for him to get that starting position, because I do believe Garoppolo will be back after the bye week, but I don't think, again, it'll be long. Trey Lance could definitely carry you into the playoffs. So definitely someone to look at. Are we ready for running backs?
Yeah, let's do some running backs.
Yeah, let's do some running backs. We don't like to waste a lot of time here on yards after the catch. We're not going to waste all your time sitting there yakking about players and stuff like that. We're just going to tell you who to take, who not, and we're going to move on for the thing. All right, Cordell Patterson. I'm going to start right there because everybody's looking at him. The guy went off. I actually advised somebody not to play Cordell Patterson. My bad, because, look, that guy just freaking launched it. 7 receptions every single week, only 6 this time. But, Cordell Patterson in the reception game for PPR. He's still getting you points, even if you're not PPR, but PPR is getting you way more points because that's where he's making his money. He's only got he doesn't have a lot of carries, doesn't have a lot of rush yards, but it's those receptions that are getting him the touchdowns. They got the Jets next, which are giving up the most points to running backs in the entire NFL. But I will say this, before you just say Patterson's playing the Jets, so I got to play him. The Jets have not given up a single rushing touchdown this year. Something to think about. They've never given one up to a running back all year, so don't get too excited just because they're playing the Jets. But again, all his touchdowns are coming off receptions. So get your information. Miami after that, who's only given up 1 touchdown to running backs, and Carolina 0 after the bye. But I think Cordell Patterson has a lot of great trade value. You can hang on to him, not hang on to him. I think with him having the bye, they play the Jets this week, and then they go into a bye. So whether you play him this week or not is up to you, but then you're going to lose him the week after. So make sure you have a contingency plan. Don't waste all your money and your talent. Make sure you got something on your roster to fill in for Patterson while he's gone. But, I think you could probably really get something good for trade.
Yeah, actually, he's one of those players that I don't know if he's going to, boom every single week, but he has the designation of wide receiver running back next to his name, and which means you could fit him in any position when you have this hole of these injured running backs that we're going to talk about, or a wide receiver where you can just fit him in there. However, I just think they just had a really good game and everybody else was covered. And I mean, that was the game you needed to start in. That 3 touchdowns doesn't happen, 5 or 6 times a year
for anybody.
Yeah, so like pump the brakes on somebody who's second or third for 20-25% of the target share, on a team. It just was the week, and it happens like Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill destroyed me this week, and
yeah, me too.
Where's the
Yeah.
You just got to just watch out. You can try to trade, and if you have him, trade them away. Sell them high. Say, hey, look at this guy's going on. I just don't trust it to last an entire season.
Yeah, I mean, yards after the catch viewers, you're getting it right here. This is why you watch us get Patterson this week and then trade him for something that's lasting, trade him for something good. He's a buy low, sell high. You might have to buy a little high, but sell high. You can definitely get something for Patterson right now because he's performing, and people don't have the information that you have. So grab him and get rid of him. A lot of people look. Okay, we're going to talk about overreactions. People are going huge on Gainwell right now. Okay, this guy's going to take over for in Philly. He's going to be the lead back. He's already getting as many or out touching. And this, look, let me tell you something about Gainwell. All right, Gainwell, he's got eight targets in week 4. He touched the ball 9 times compared to 10. That helps you in PPR. He's got 18 targets in 4 games, so that's nice. Philly is not running the ball. Okay, Sanders is not running the ball. Gainwell is not running the ball. It's a reception thing in Philly. So if you think that's going to carry on, if you want to grab a couple points here and there, because he got 8 targets in week 4, I want to say he caught 6 of them. That's 6 points, I guess. If he happens to get in the end zone, you get double digits out of him. But how much money, who are you going to drop off your roster to get a guy who's going to catch the ball 6 times and might get you a touchdown? Is that worth it to you? Maybe it is. In that case, go ahead and pull the trigger. But I'm just giving you the information. The guy caught 6 balls. And you know, that's about all he's going to do is catch a ball here and there.
Yeah, when you have someone like Gainwell, like if you watch the show and you drafted really well, it's hard to drop anybody on your bench for him if he's still available. In a couple of my leagues, people already took him. Maybe they knew something I didn't. Maybe they said, you know what, Sanders is going to get hurt and he's going to come in. But when you look at Jalen Hurts, he's going to run the ball once in a while. They are passing a lot. They're not playing, they're not way ahead the whole time. So Sanders isn't really exploding right now. It's not like CMC and then he went out and then you go and pick up Hubbard. It's not that transition. So you have to lower your expectations for him. Just pump the brakes a little bit because he's maybe 3rd on the depth chart of rushing. An injury, okay, he's maybe 2nd on a team that doesn't rush a lot. So it's okay. Tell your friends to do it and then talk trash after they pick them up. But just save your money, save your waiver pickups, and just go somewhere else.
Yeah. Hey, look, I will say, so I'm going no, unless you're going to trade him on Patterson. I'm going no for Gainwell because they're not running the ball. He's good for PPR, but he's not that good. He's not worth the switch out. Who I am going to say yes to, number 1 is Alex Collins from Seattle. That's because we just heard Chris Carson it has a neck issue. There's really no reason to put Carson in this week. He'll probably be they might put him in for a play. He'll be needs only basis, but Alex Collins playing on a Thursday. Love my Thursday night players because there's not a lot of time. You see the defense is not doing well on Thursday night. For the past few weeks, you see star players and key players that are doing well because there's not as much time to prepare. So defenses can't prepare as much for these guys. Alex Collins coming in is going to have less tape on him anyway than Chris Carson would. It's going to be really hard to prepare for him. If you want to take a chance on Chris Carson, it could pay off. I'm giving Carson a big maybe. I'm giving him a nice ceiling. Alex Collins, yeah. So I think you could play Collins if you wanted to.
Yeah, Alex Collins wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean,
if you're hurting, if you're in a deep league, if you lost Montgomery and you can't get Williams, maybe Alex Collins can fill in for the week.
Yeah, I went to a rock concert one time and got really wild and crazy, and my neck hurt for a week. So I can't imagine getting hit and then saying, yeah, my neck hurts, and that actually makes, everybody sore after a football game. So it's going to happen. But if you're already on the injury report with like a neck injury, which we found out 45 minutes ago maybe, maybe you might need to rest up a little bit. And if you can get him in there, great. But like I said, check your bench. Is it really worth the flop for maybe a week or two? But if nobody picks him up, watch him the rest of the week, see the news, and that way you can say, oh, wait, this might be multiple weeks. I need to grab this guy now. That's important.
That is. The other guys, we got to talk about Williams up there in Chicago. He's going to have limited usability. So he's only going to be usable until Montgomery comes back. Right now, Montgomery's listed at 4 to 5 weeks. Injuries in the NFL usually come a little shorter than that. But, his numbers weren't that great. Everybody's trying to talk about how great his numbers were. He had 8 rushes for 55 yards, but 23 of those came on 1 run. So almost half his rushes came on 1 run. He got you 15 points. He had, they've got Las Vegas coming up. Las Vegas is giving up 4 rushing, 2 receiving, 2 backs. Green Bay even less, 2 and 2, 2 rushing, 2 receiving touchdowns. And then Tampa after that, it was giving up 0 touchdowns to running backs. So his schedule is not fantastic. You might be able to use him next week. He might pay off for you next week. I'm not telling you not to get him. He might be another one that if you can get, and you're probably got that top waiver wire pick because everybody's going for him, or you're going to blow your whole fab wad to get him. But you might be able to trade him, play him against Las Vegas, trade him before the Las Vegas game, let somebody get a week out of him, whatever, and they'll feel good about the trade. But as long as you're not playing the guy you're trading with, Williams is another one that you might be able to get a really good trade value out of, and you won't feel bad after they play Green Bay and Tampa Bay in week 6 and week 7.
Yeah, especially when he's playing like Green Bay, when they're giving up a ton to running backs. He's only owned in 11% of the league, so odds are he's out there. You just got to go find his name. But he does have a thigh bruise, and I don't know how much that's going to hinder him. But he's apparently supposed to start. It's just a bruise, and everybody plays through bruises apparently. So I don't even know why they report it unless it's really, really important. But he is somebody to target at least for a couple of weeks. I do want to talk about Joe Mixon because he got injured. And by the way, both of these running backs on my team, which is great, on multiple teams.
Love it.
So Samaje Perine is supposed to be the next man up. He has been ignored because Mixon has taken everything, which is fine. But here's a funny little tiny stat. Not much stats on him this year because he doesn't play much, but he holds the college single game record for 427 yards. He rushed 34 times and 5 touchdowns. Someone like that as a backup, and people that don't know about that he did years ago, is something like, well, maybe he could be okay as a filler, at least for a couple weeks. But when is Mixon going to come back is the important thing. You got to pay attention to that. Like, Mixon always injured, avoid him. If he's on my team, I'm looking at him like, should I get it just for a maybe? Well, here's the thing. Joe Mixon has been injured like almost every year he's played for multiple games. And is it going to be just 1 week, or is it going to be – last week the coach said, yeah, it'll be week to week. Next thing you know, he's out 10 games. Is he really going to be out 1 game, or is it going to be 10 games? We don't even know yet because we won't find out till Wednesday for some reason. So thanks for that information. But if you have room, pick him up, stash him if you have that, if you're in deep league, because it is going to be important. Mixon isn't going to play 98% of the snaps for the entire season. But temper your expectations because we don't know what's happening with that team right now. Getting a little shaky over there.
Yeah, spot on with the stash. If you're going to get Perine, don't do it so that you can make him your RB1 or RB2, all right? Even your flex, grab him, maybe stash him. Again, Mixon gets hurt. They're already saying Mixon might play in week 5. But like you said, he's a great handcuff to have because Mixon traditionally does not finish a season. So he's a good stash. Just make sure you address your other needs first before you go get Perine. Spot on. Look, basically what we're telling you is that quarterbacks, yes, they're out there. Sam Darnold is out there. He's worth grabbing. Heineke is out there. There's a lot of injuries there, but he is still worth grabbing. He's putting up the number. He's putting up the points. Trey Lance is good for a stash. He's good for a hold. You can definitely play him this week. But then Garoppolo, they got the bye week. Garoppolo will come back after the bye week, and then just hang on to him if you want until he comes back. Running backs, we're saying there really isn't much out there, honestly, and that's usual for every week. Everybody's telling you to get Gainwell, we're telling you no. Everybody's telling you to get Cordell Patterson, we're saying, hey, you can grab him, you can even play him next week, then trade him, get rid of him because he's got a bye week coming up, but people love him, so get something for him. You could probably maybe do the same thing for Gainwell. Williams, we're definitely saying that. Play him against Las Vegas. He might do well against Las Vegas. Green Bay iffy, and then they got Tampa after that. So try to get rid of him. Again, sell high and get something for him. Montgomery's going to be coming back not too long after that. Perine, maybe a stash, but keep an eye if you can play him or not this week. And again, don't make him plan A. With receivers, there's always receivers out there. They rotate around. Some of your top receivers right now, I don't know. Who do you got as your top receiver? I've got a couple of them, honestly. But
honestly, I'm going to lead with this because the yakking host said to grab him long ago, and I had to lead out. It's Darnell Mooney, who had a connection with Justin Fields, and it was solid. I mean, Justin catch gone. I mean, it was beautiful. I saw it live. It was wonderful. They have something there special. I don't know how long it's going to last, but he's available still because some of you
Yeah.
didn't listen. And what happened? He got 125 yards, something like that.
Yeah, he went big.
That's a good pickup.
Yeah, no, Mooney's one that we have definitely been talking about for a long time. You just, if you're not sold on Mooney yet, if you don't know, look up his highlight. It's all over YouTube. Go out there and look up his highlight reels from last year. They're ridiculous. And then you see the ball go flying by him. Just, he's wide open. His routes are amazing. He's tall. He's fast. He just needed someone to get him the ball. It wasn't going to happen with Dalton. Now that Fields is there, Fields loves to sling it downfield to someone who can catch it. And now he knows Mooney can catch it. And you saw the results. Results maybe not typical, but I don't think they're going to be that far off. I think this is something you're going to see consistently throughout the season. So, yes, Mooney, he's going to be your number one target wide receiver this week. So you might have to pay a little bit for him, but he is the guy. If you haven't got him already, he's the one you want to get. We got some hidden treasures this week, though. Look, I know a lot of you guys are looking at Renfro because he put up a little bit and he got that touchdown. Okay. Chicago's next. Okay, number 5, they have given up 7 touchdowns to receivers, but they're number 5 defense. Denver only given up 3 passing touchdowns, and then at the Eagles have only given up 5. Bridgewater, don't know how long he's going to be out under concussion protocol. So you got Locke throwing the ball now. I'm sorry, we're wrong team. We're with Carr over at the Raiders. Got stuck on the Denver thing. So, but Carr showed what can happen. When he only plays an hour instead of an hour and 15 minutes. Again, Chicago, Denver, and the Eagles. Again, Carr is going to get a few more points than Renfro is, but I'm telling you, you're going to get something out of Renfro if you need wide. There's plenty of other talent out there. Don't get Renfro. Don't go pick up AJ Green, who had 11 points and 12 points, because there's too many mouths to feed over there in Arizona. But who you can pick up, all right, especially if you do have some wide receivers and you're looking to fill a spot later on. That's right. Take your pen out, make notes, kids, because Curtis Samuel is back, and Washington needs him. Big numbers right now. They're still easing him back in. He's going to be someone that's going to show up over the next few weeks. He's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He's going to roll downhill. Watch Curtis Samuel because he's going to blow up. Rashad Bateman is coming back in Baltimore. Got some mouths to feed there. So he's a maybe. He's a watch. I'm not even telling you to go get him. I'm telling you to pay attention because he may be someone you want to watch. And I love Raymond out of Detroit. 10 targets in week 3, 6 targets in week 4, 2 touchdowns in week 4. Everybody wants to look at Quentin Cephas over there. Look at Raymond because he is fastly developing into a favorite target out there in Detroit.
I got a lot of funny things to tell you about because I kind of disagree, and I'm still on the
That's
AJ
okay.
Green
That's right. That's
train.
why people watch the show too. But
yeah, I'm still on the AJ Green train. They are passing, and you know who's not showing up?
Big
Is
time.
Hopkins. He is getting shut down because he was on Ramsey Island. But what I'm saying is Hopkins is, I don't know, wide receiver 15, 20, I don't know what it is, but everybody else, they're spreading the ball out around. They're doing a good job of spreading the ball. Whoever's covered by the best cornerback is just getting swallowed up, and everybody else is getting the targets, and then they just rotate. So AJ Green is still on my team. I'm going to keep him there. I'm not trading him out for some of the other guys we talked about. But I'm still there. Like, he is in my lineup, and it did pay off. Jameson Crowder came back, and he scored 15 points, and with a rookie quarterback, which was really nice. But I wish it kind of went more towards Corey Davis. But Corey Davis had his great weeks as well. And another thing with Hunter Renfrow, we have said he's a good target to pick up, and I thought about it. But I had the tight end in Las Vegas, and I was like, well, I can't have them both. There's not that much volume. Here's the thing. Hunter Renfrow, there's no disrespect. He's a great player. He saved a touchdown last week after he ran 20 yards on a fake punt and he tackled the guy and made him fumble. It was phenomenal. It was great. He is a smart player. He's going to get you those catches. So he's going to run those good routes. He's got the hands. There's nothing wrong with having him on your team if you're falling short there. You went running back, tight end, quarterback.
Or you're deep. You're playing 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, because some super flex leagues do that, and you need someone to plug in there for a week. Just you got to watch the schedule.
Yes, watch the schedule. I would shy away for a little bit, but he's going to get some really good picks. Sometimes in the chances coming up. So pay attention to him. But don't get all your fab money for him for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Love Jamison Crowder. He's doing big things. That's not going to make the Davis fans very happy with Crowder there, but he's someone, again, watch the schedule. He may get you some points. I love that you brought him up because he was definitely on my list. Another one is Schultz. I think Schultz has definitely established himself down there in Dallas. If you need a nice tight end, he's getting 6 receptions, 7, 8 targets for the past 2 weeks, respectively. 2 touchdowns last week, 1 touchdown this week, 20 points, 11 points. There's a lot of mouths to feed there in Dallas, but Dak is definitely not afraid to toss one to Schultz. So I'll take the hit on that. Like every name we're going to give you isn't going to be different from everybody because, people are doing their homework. Schultz is one of those ones. Yeah, we got to agree with everybody. Schultz is definitely someone that I'm going to look at with my Logan Thomas injury on a couple rosters that I have. Dallas defense, 5th in fantasy points. They're giving up a ton of yards. They're giving up touchdowns. They're 5th in fantasy points. Points over stats, people. You got to look at the points. Minnesota, another one that is doing well in points. So if you're streaming the defenses every week, look towards Dallas. Look towards the Minnesota matchups, and you might come out a winner.
Absolutely. We always want the targets. Targets are key. You don't want 2 catches for 2 touchdowns for 4 yards. It doesn't do you any good in the long run. Like Van Jefferson went 6 for 6 for 90 and a touchdown. Is it time to drop Robert Woods for Van Jefferson Jr.?
No.
Should I panic? I got Woods so I can have that comfortable stat, and it's just not happening, and it's bothering me. But I looked at it, I'm like, why is it? 13 for 18, 13 out of 18 for 2 touchdowns, or Robert Woods 15 for 25 for 2 touchdowns. So they're pretty close in their stats, and I was like, is like Van Jefferson Jr. something to look at for next year for sure.
Mm-hmm. Dynasty leagues, definitely, yeah.
But we'll talk about next year later. But I'm saying, like, I'm thinking like this is gonna hurt a little bit if this keeps happening, because Robert Woods was supposed to be my little gold mine. I'm like, this is going to give me the points that I need week in and week out, and it's kind of disappointing. So that's my probably reason why I'm 1-3 in one league, and 3-1 in another. It's panic time. But I'm not going to. I think Woods is going to come through. He's going to continue to get the target, especially if everybody's swallowing up, Cup and whatnot. But Aurora says, very surprised about New England quarterback this Sunday. Good old Mac Jones. Should he be a good asset to have? And I'm going to say yes for next week because he's going against Houston. That's
sound, yeah.
His first 3 games, he had some tough matchups. He's a rookie, but he's getting his feel for it. He's going to be playing in the domes, I believe. Yeah, I believe they're at Houston. He'll be playing in the dome, not the home field advantage, but it's Houston. I think he's going to go over there and sling and say, hey, I almost beat Tom Brady. Why can't I go over here and just start slinging it? I believe in him. I'm going to be putting him on some lineups, here and there. Might actually have to put him in instead of Ben Roethlisberger. So
he might be a good play over Ben Roethlisberger. Coincidentally enough, Ben Roethlisberger QB 28, Mac Jones QB 27. So he's just above Ben Roethlisberger. 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions over 4 weeks. He does have over 1,000 yards, though. And like you said, he's got Houston coming up next. But after that, he's got Dallas. Dallas is good for some shootouts, and then he's got the Jets. So definitely opportunity for Mac Jones to perform. I'm going to caution against him. He's going to be someone, if you're in a double quarterback league and you need a second quarterback, you might look towards Mac Jones just because of the matchups that are coming up. He's definitely not your QB1, especially in a one QB league or anything like that. If you're in that QB super flex, you could play him maybe in one of those flex positions. Yeah, just, he's not. We're not telling you to take him as your QB1. We're not telling you to drop Kyler Murray and grab Mac Jones. We're just saying that Mac Jones has some nice matchups coming up, and he could benefit your team if you have that deep a league, that wide a roster.
Yeah, I agree. If you're in a 4 QB league, yeah, he should probably be on your roster somewhere.
Yeah. If you're in a 4 QB league, I'm not sure what game you're playing. Look, but you talk about panicking, and that's something a lot of people are going to want to do right now. And if you're 0-4 right now, you want to panic. I understand that. I've had people hit me up already, personal friends, that when they were 0-3. But look, 0-4, we've got an extra game this season that may or may not be programmed into your fantasy football season as far as when the playoffs start and things like that. But 0-4, even in a regular, you're not done. You're not out of it. You can still finish with a nice record, probably in most formats, 10, 11-4 if you were to win out. And let's not expect you to win out, but you can still hit the playoffs with 9 wins. You just got to make some adjustments. So what do? We can say not panic. We can talk about the waiver wire. You've got first pick this week, so what are you going to do with it? And that's a fair question, because do you grab Damian Williams, who's going to get you a couple weeks of work? Do you grab Trey Lance, who's going to pay off for you over the long term? Do you grab a Cordell Patterson and try to trade for something better than Cordell Patterson? Again, sell high and get yourself Chris Carson's hurt right now. Chris Carson you could grab Damian Williams for this week and trade something for Chris Carson. Someone might be willing to make that trade. You might be able to trade Cordell Patterson for Carson. Who knows? These things can happen. The thing is not to panic. Look at your roster. This is what you have to do if you're 0-4. You got to look at your roster and you got to figure out where the weakness is. If you've got Ayuk, he's been a weakness for you, and I have a roster with Ayuk on it, so I know. And so now you're asking yourself, well, Trey Lance comes in. Is Ayuk going to get some points? Blah, blah, blah. Here's what you do. You go to your transaction page or player page of all the available players, and you hit the little button that lets you see where your players are on that list. Okay, if there's a bunch of people available above your player, you might want to drop that player and pick someone that's up there that's above your player. Check that player, make sure it's not somebody who just had a great week and scored a couple touchdowns and had a lot of yards that week, like a Cephas and Osborne. Don't grab Cephas, don't grab Osborne, don't grab Kirk, but get somebody that's look at their game logs and they've consistently scored 10, 11 points per week, something like that. They've got a touchdown every week. They've got 10, 8 targets every week, things like that. Those are the guys that you're going to want to find sitting above your roster. But that's what I do. What's going on, David? How you doing? Let us know if you got any questions about pickups, waiver pickups, or anything else. But it's good to see you on the show and everybody else that's watching as well. But if you're 0-4, don't panic. Check your roster against available players and make the necessary changes.
Here's the thing about panicking, being 0-4 or 1-3, even 2-2. If you're like, I should have been winning. One of the leagues that I'm in where I'm 1-3, I have the second most points scored. I'm just getting beat by I scored the second most, and then the top guy beat me, and I'm like, really? That's why I'm losing by just this much. So if that's happening, don't panic. Like, your team is good, you drafted right, or you hitting the waivers right, but you have to watch out for that, because I'm looking at them how I have the second most points in the league? Because you look over the points forced and points allowed. I'm like, okay, I don't need to panic. The wins will come. You don't normally have, horrible luck all season long. So it's okay. Just, you'll win a couple more. You just got to win 2 out of 3, and then 2 out of 3, and then 2 out of 3. Next thing you know, you got the edge of the playoffs, and that's when you really just got to pay attention to every little detail. And if you're just having a rough time, people lose. It just happens. Somebody didn't show up that week, or you played someone like Tyreek Hill, or some of the Darren Waller week 1, stuff like that. Those are going to happen. Just keeps happening to me every week. So let's not do that this week. And what do you got for us? You got a tight end for us?
Yeah, again, Schultz is the way to go at the tight end this week. I'm really liking him. He's my main tight end. There might be someone else, again, matchup based or something like that. But Schultz is definitely your number one look for tight end. You got to kind of look at your league. And again, that's where you look at the list. You plug if your tight end's not performing so well, you plug your tight end into that list and see which tight ends are sitting above you. How far above you is sitting at 17 points? You don't need to take the guy that's sitting at 18, 19 points just because he's above you, right? You want to target the guy who's at 24, 25 points above you. So if you plug your active players into that list and there's 5 guys ahead of you, but they're all within a couple points of where you are, then you're doing okay with what's available. Check the matchup, see, but 9 times out of 10, those guys are on the roster still available because, again, they had a good week, but they're not having a good season. And so those are things you want to look at. But, overall, most of the rosters I'm looking at, they're not streaming defenses, which means changing your defense every week, looking for the matchups and changing your defense every week. So they're sticking with the same defense, and they're not adjusting for lopsided matches. Tight ends seem to be a problem. Kickers seem to be a problem. These positions that you don't really look at very often, because with the tight end, if you don't have one of those top guys, then you have a mediocre tight end. So you really have to play with your roster on the tight end if you got a mediocre one, because each week there's going to be someone else sitting in that mediocre zone, and sometimes you got to go find them. The wide receivers, you can look for matchups. You have a wide receiver. And to just kind of cross over the waiver wire with your 0-4 start. Who do you have on your roster? And you brought it up. You had Roethlisberger because you want to play favorites. Who do you have on your roster that really shouldn't be there? You have people on your roster that you're holding on to that should not be there, that you should be holding on.
I do have one. His name's Ramondre Stevenson. He's a running back in New England, and it's just chaos over there with running backs. I was like, we got an injury over here. I think he's going to be the next man up. I watched him in preseason. He was phenomenal. The reason why I picked him up was because of that. And he's just, every time I see it every week, he's a healthy scratch. He's a healthy scratch. And I'm like, you know what? I got to drop him. Like, it's just the way it is. And I saw him available in another league. I was this close to picking him up. And something said, just don't do it. You have him on one of your other teams. A lot of your teams look similar. So just pump the brakes a little bit. And he was another healthy scratch. I'm like, are you kidding me? So anything in New England, I've kind of avoided for years. I thought he was going to come out and break out, so I'm going to kind of avoid him. And David asked, Bolden or Collins, and doghouse. And so I'm like, we talked about Collins, and it's a safer pick for Collins, just because New England's kind of a shit show. I don't know what's going on.
If you're in that situation where you need somebody this week, get Collins. Collins is, again, they're playing on a short week. Defense isn't going to really be able to prepare for him. Just found out today, really, that Carson isn't going to be able to, probably isn't going to go. So I would target Collins. Personally, I may target Collins. I don't know. Thursday players are doing very well because defenses aren't able to prepare. David mentions that he picked up Knox. If Knox is still available, grab that guy. I definitely advise to pick him up. I picked him up myself. Boy, that guy paid off for me. I got like over 18 points at the tight end position. It was fantastic. 18 points every week. No, double digits. Yeah, I think he's good for double digits. Barry says Tony Jones Jr. handcuff for Kamara, but I'm dumping him this week. I assume you mean you're dumping Tony Jones Jr. I don't think that's a bad play. There are other players you could get if you're looking for handcuffs. We talk about P. Ryan being a good handcuff that could be available with Mixon. Don't expect P. Ryan necessarily to play this week because Mixon may be back, may not. But anytime that Mixon's out, P. Ryan is a nice plug-in to have on those weeks.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta like handcuffs are great, but you're really leaving available starting players out there available for your league mates to pick up. And unless you know your running back is injury prone, which Kamara is not, let's say, um, compared to someone like Mixon. Mixon is a little bit more, and it depends on where you were able to draft him. You had to get Kamara in round one, so there's that. It's just Kamara is probably not going to get injured. I hope, because he's on my team. I picked him, but it does happen. So you just got to watch who you're really handcuffing, and handcuff when you know their backup's really good. Like Tony Pollard's really good,
Yeah.
So for Dallas, if he's gonna come, he's good without Zeke being injured. So stuff like that you got to really pay attention to as well.
Yeah, just a quick review for those of you just joining us. We're saying yes to Sam Darnold. 3 consecutive 300-yard games. Nice favorable schedule. Plus, he's got those rushing touchdowns, especially until C-Mac gets back. He should still continue to get those rushing touchdowns. He's got good matchups coming. Taylor Heineke, we're saying yes. Go ahead and go on Taylor Heineke. Again, fantastic matchups coming up. Set up for him to succeed. We're saying grab Cordell Patterson to trade. We're looking to trade Cordell Patterson. He may get you something this week, but then he's got a bye week and a tough schedule after the bye. So you can get something high for Cordell Patterson. We're saying the same thing for Williams up in Chicago for Montgomery. Even though Montgomery's going to be out a few weeks, Williams' schedule gets gradually worse and worse and worse. He's got Las Vegas, which is nice. Green Bay, yards, yes. Touchdowns, no. And then they got Tampa, who's given up nothing to running backs in the end zone. So you can get Williams, maybe play him this week or not, and trade high for him. We like Alex Collins in Seattle. We like him this week. They do have the Rams, so that's something to think about as well. And I think that's probably the big detractor from Collins. But it's Thursday night, and again, defenses are not performing well on Thursday night in the short weeks. We're saying no on Gainwell because they're not running the ball. He might get you something in PPR, but it's not worth the play to play him. We know a lot of people are telling you to get Gainwell. Gainwell's real hot right now, but why is he hot? Because he's had a few receptions and a touchdown. I mean, we know they're not running Gainwell. Gainwell is the pass catching back, but they're not really passing the backs very much either. He's had 18 targets in 4 games. That's not a lot. So unless you're just really deep or really hurting, maybe leave Gainwell alone. We do like Curtis Samuel coming back in Washington. We're telling you to keep an eye on Bateman in Baltimore to see how they use him and how they play him. I like Raymond up there in Detroit. Got 10 targets in week 3, 6 targets, and a couple touchdowns. It seems like he is definitely more valuable than Cephas. We're both a no on Cephas. Crowder, we really like Crowder. Davis fans will not like Crowder being in there, but Crowder could definitely, again, deeper league, be someone you could roster. Trey Lance, long term, he's definitely going to play this week, and then hang on to him for when they make that switch. Dallas D, number 5 in fantasy points, someone you could look at. Schultz and Knox, if they're still available, are good tight ends to pick up. Renfro, no. Carr, no. At least be cautious with Carr. They have real tough matchups coming up. Don't expect big numbers, especially out of Renfro. He's going to get you numbers, but not big ones. And P. Ryan, great stash throughout the year if you want to get P. Ryan. But again, don't get him expecting to play him. Barry asked, would you trade Mike Williams for C.D. Lamb? Would I trade Mike Williams for C.D. Lamb? I would not. Could you make the trade? Absolutely. Here's the thing you got to do about trades. This is a push to me. This is what we call a push. And what it means is it sounds sexy on paper. Oh, I got C.D. Lamb. But did it improve your team? And that's what you have to ask about any trade. I can trade Hopkins for C.D. Lamb. I can trade a Chris Carson for a Swift. But did I make my team better? Statistically, maybe not. It's points over stats here, yards after the catch. That's how we roll. because that's what wins you game is points. So are you going to get more points with CeeDee Lamb than Williams? Now, I will say CeeDee Lamb might be a little more, I might expect to get points more on a regular basis from CeeDee Lamb because they both have talented people on offense. So the ball is going to get spread around. That might mean some weeks you don't get anything like Williams did this week, and then other weeks you go ham. So could you make the trade? Yeah. Is it going to pay off one side or the other? I don't think it makes your team any better. I think it just means you have Lamb instead of Williams. Root there it is.
Yeah, I actually agree with you 100%. Like I had CD Lamb last year. He went too high for me in the draft, so I avoided him. Um, I love CD Lamb. I think they're going to throw the
Yeah.
ball a lot. I think Zeke is looking fresh, so he's getting some more touches. They're using Pollard as well. I mean, they're using everything. They're spreading the ball out there. I like Mike Williams a little bit more, but like you said, it's a flip of a coin. It's just a different look. Is all. If you're a Cowboys fan, you want CeeDee Lamb, go for it. We're not going to stop you. I just was watching Mike Williams, and I got destroyed because somebody threw 30 points last night at me, and it hurt a little bit. And Mr. Herbert is playing really well right now. He's looking really good. He's throwing touchdowns, and he's throwing touchdowns to his running backs. They're not going to run it that much. So, I mean, for someone who's throwing 2, 3, 4 touchdowns a game, I'm probably going to go ahead and stay with Mike Williams, even though the Dallas defense isn't as good as the other side. But it's a flip of a coin, and whatever one you want. If they want to give you CeeDee Lamb, try to get something else in the trade. Get a 2-for-1, or trade 2-for-1 and get trade Mike Williams and something off your bench for a little bit better of a player that you think is a little bit better than CeeDee Lamb, because that would be more beneficial. Because right now it's just a flip of a coin for me.
Yeah. Hey, look, we're points over stats here at yards after the catch. CeeDee Lamb, 53.6 points on the season. Mike Williams, 79.6 points on the season. So to me, Williams is the keeper there. If you're on the other side of that and you're looking to give up CeeDee Lamb for Mike Williams, again, I probably wouldn't do that either. As much as I like Mike Williams, and I'd rather have Williams, it's not really worth giving up CeeDee Lamb either. In my opinion, again, flip of a coin, do what you like to do. I think you're going to win either way on that one. Barry, thanks for the question. If anybody else has questions, we answer them live right here on Yards After the Catch. So just shoot them up and we will knock them down for you. With that said, while we wait for your questions, it is time for what has become one of my favorite parts of the program as we wrap things up. It is time for College Chaos with Roop. There it is. Fantastic week of college football, and we really learned a few things this week.
Oops. I messed up
last week. I'm looking it up, and I'm not sure how it went. Boston College over Clemson.
I was watching. It was not good.
It was not good.
I went 0 for 3 last week, but there were some close games.
They were. No, I agree. I mean, the Notre Dame-Cincinnati game could have gone either way, and I think a lot of people picked Notre Dame over Cincinnati. Cincinnati came through. Will it matter because they literally played nobody else all season? Probably not. But they can say they beat Notre Dame, and they, did a great job. It was a great game.
Yeah, they beat Notre Dame, but Notre Dame almost lost to Florida State. So, I mean, you can't just pick and choose of this one and this one. Like, you got to take everything as a whole. And that's why I picked Notre Dame. I was like, you know what? If Notre Dame's the real deal, let's do it. And what happened to Cincinnati? Well, we'll get back to Cincinnati later. But they won. Congratulations. I think they're ranked 5 now. We call that overrated. Sorry, Cincinnati. Last year was the same thing. Just your schedule isn't good enough for you to get in the playoffs. And we'll get to that later. Boston did not beat up on Clemson like we all thought. Clemson pulled it off. And, of course, Baylor lost to Oklahoma State. And it happens. Everything was ugly. It was just an ugly weekend. And almost everybody who should have won. And the one thing I joked about was Stanford beating Oregon. I said, no, that's not going to happen. We laughed about it at the end of the
Right?
show.
No, we did, and you said I'm not going to make that call. And you should have threw a hundy on there because
I should have put a year's salary on it
you'd be
because
making it rain right now.
I would just be making it rain. It'd be crazy. And that's what College Chaos is all about because it happens every
Yes.
week. I think, though, most people this weekend should win their bouts. It's just going to happen. I feel like it's one of those weeks, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here about the College Chaos. So I think Ole Miss, number 17,
Here we go.
beat Arkansas. What do you think?
This is my favorite part of the week.
We got
Arkansas is hurting right now. Arkansas is hurting right now. And man, I think Arkansas is just gonna. I mean, you take a beat like that, and it becomes how are you going to respond? Arkansas is going into Mississippi, who's playing good ball as well. They're both coming off a loss. The difference is Ole Miss knew they were going to lose, whereas Arkansas probably really thought they were going to win. So both of them are chasing a win right now. I don't expect this to be a very clean game. I think it's going to be messy. I think it's going to be mistake ridden. I think players are going to be doing anything and everything they can, and I think it's going to be some dirty street ball. But I think that Arkansas is still the better team. I think Arkansas is going to win, but I'm going to put you down for Mississippi over Arkansas.
All right, we got our first thumb down, and that thumbs down is fine. I'm okay with that. Because I had to.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I just don't think it's going to.
I just had to pick something. And I can't pick two unrated. That didn't really count. I got to pick something, and those are just the ones that I'm like, let's make something out. Let's make a little bit of magic. And so I stepped up my game a little bit. Unranked Nebraska is going to be number 9 Michigan because we can't say the.
Yes, you know what? I'm gonna go with you on this one because I want it to happen that bad. I'm actually not sure it's gonna happen, but I would love to see it happen.
Just because I'm a Sooners fan, I need it to happen. But let's go Michigan. Like, show what you're really about, and claim that number 9 spot. But if I'm going to pick one, I want to see an upset. Well, let's see. And my last one, and there's more to it, more about the playoffs, is number 4 Penn State is going to beat Iowa. And I get it. They're right next to each other.
They're right next to each other. It's 3-4. It should be a fantastic game. We're going to find out which one is supposed to be there. I see this being a fantastic game. I wish it was at Penn State for a whiteout, but I'll take it at Iowa. It's on at 4 p.m., which is a weird start for such a high-ranking game, but it's fantastic because it should be on anywhere you want to watch it. The only exception is that Georgia's going to be playing Auburn, but I think honestly people consider that a mismatch. They'll be watching the ticker to see if Auburn's going to pull the upset. But I think Iowa Penn State, it's statistically, on paper, it's the game of the week, and we'll see if it turns out that way.
Yeah, I mean, because I think Penn State's going to end up winning, and then Ohio State's going to beat Penn State. Penn State's going to beat Michigan. Michigan's going to beat Ohio State. And
it's going to be an SEC scenario where we all just kind of beat each other out of the playoff. It could happen. Yeah.
And then Iowa State's going to be the the Big Ten champ type thing.
A lot of Iowa State fans feeling happy you said that.
Yeah, something like that, something crazy. Or everybody's going to be 2 losses, and guess who gets in? Number 5 Cincinnati is going to get into the playoffs because Big Ten.
Oh God! Don't even say it. Watch this happen. I'm glad that all these shows save and they record, so we can go back and you can say I said it. I said it. No, you can let everybody know. I said it way back in October. I said this was going to happen.
They're not even the only conference that's going to beat up on each other. I mean, there's a couple more that it's like, hey, we're good. Yeah, but you beat, and then everybody's out. Next thing you know, everybody's got a 1 loss, and now the 2 loss teams are like, we're right here. We're good right now. So I don't know. That's what the college chaos is about, because somebody's getting upset. Somebody.
Yeah. Barry asked, do you ever try and trade for players that have an easy fantasy playoff schedule? For instance, the Redskins play the Eagles twice down there at the end in the stretch towards playoffs time. To me, that's not as easy because teams are playing harder if they're in the hunt for it or trying to make themselves look good towards the playoffs, unless they're playing for that first round pick, that first draft pick. But I would not trade based off a schedule. I trade for the player, if that makes sense. I'm not worried about the schedule. I'm worried about I want to trade for the player, because it doesn't matter the elite players. It doesn't matter which defense they're going against. 9.5 times out of 10, they're still going to put up numbers even against the top guys. There's very few defenders in the NFL, especially the way the rules are right now, that can stop a high end top end receiver. You take a top end receiver and a top end DB, and I'll take the receiver over the DB 9.5 times out of 10, just because of the way the rules are set up. If a DB is not looking directly at the ball and has any contact, he's probably going to get called for a pass interference. It's not like the old days where you could knock people around. So I would answer that question with trade for the player, don't trade for the schedule.
Barry, I want you to keep this one quiet and to yourself. I do look at the playoffs. I do pay attention to it. I look at the matchups, especially if you play them twice in those couple of weeks. I check to see who's playing in a dome those weekends, those last three, because I don't want to be up in Green Bay trying to play in a winter storm, ice storm, fog bowl, any of these things.
Yeah.
I want to stay away from that. So I do pay attention to who's playing then. So you want to get your trades in. I'm all for it. I love it. I do it. I want it. I draft for it sometimes.
I just think it's early. I guess my thing is, like, I think it's way early if you're not getting a quality player. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you're taking a mid-level player who has a good matchup, he's had some good games, and things like that. They're going to play Jacksonville twice during playoff time, things like that. When it gets closer to playoff time, then I might try and make a trade and get that person open. The other person isn't paying attention, but you just got to be real careful of using up a roster spot on someone you're not going to play. You're really kind of looking to play 6-7 weeks from now, because with them holding that spot, who are you giving up on? So it might make more sense to put a better player in there, and then as you get closer and you can start freeing up your roster or preparing your roster for a playoff run, should you be in that position, that's what I'm looking more to make a trade.
Yeah, it's good to look ahead, but we do have to make it there first. And you don't want to be like 6th or 7th in your 12 team and start trading for something for the playoffs. If you're sitting at 1 or 2, your team's pretty good. You don't really need to trade. So it's kind of like if you're 10th, 11th, or 12th and your team's going crazy, hey, trade for the playoffs, because you need something. You need to make magic happen. The team that you have currently isn't working, so make that step forward. But it really depends on what's on your bench and what you're willing to give up for it. You need those points over stats. Like our wonderful host says, we got to get those points in, because you don't get the points, you're going to end up 1-3 like me, losing by 2 points, 4 points, 6 points. And next thing you know, you're like, this isn't working for me. So pump the brakes, speed up at the right times. Right now, I wouldn't worry too much about the playoffs. We got to make sure we're in there.
You got anything else for us on college football? Group, there it is.
Well, I don't know. That, my friends, college chaos. It's a love-hate. I want to win, and we can talk about some of the bigger matchups. Like, is Maryland gonna upset Ohio State this weekend? We don't know. I mean, no, it's not gonna happen.
Yes,
okay.
We do. Yes,
okay, one question, because I'm like.
No, I'm not putting it out there. That's why they play the game. Anybody can win any game, and I fully believe that, especially in college football. I think it's more relevant there than anywhere else.
Yeah, see, the Huskers going to win this week. I told you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Barry.
And we're all on the same page. Nebraska's going to beat
Yes,
Michigan.
Nebraska across the board.
Is OU or Texas going to win? Because that's what college game day is at. That's the big game. Doesn't matter if they're both ranked 1,
Really?
2, or out and about. Yeah. So, like, this is the game they picked because it doesn't matter what happens here. Upsets happen.
It's going to be absolutely crazy. Everybody's going to be flying around the field. Everybody's going to be trying to win this game. This is a rivalry game. Again, like you said, Oklahoma is on the outside looking in, and they want the win because they want the win. They don't want it because of rankings, and like they're just going to go out there and try to win this game because it's this game. And Texas is going to be doing the same thing. And when you get these rivalry games, these are the best games to watch, in my opinion, because anything can happen, and usually does.
Yeah, I'm 75% confident Oklahoma will win, and I'm also 75% scared that Texas is going to show up. And if that happens, whoops.
Who knows?
And I almost picked it for the upset. I played favorites, and I'm not going to do that.
I never pick against my team. I never pick against my team.
Yeah. So what we're going to do.
I'll acknowledge the fact that they could lose, but I will never pick against them. That will never happen. You'll never hear that.
Okay. There'll be times, but we're not going to get into that tonight. But I'm not betting against them this weekend. I'm going for them. I'm not going to put my stamp on it and, put a life savings on a bet on it. But, that's what college football is about. It's the chaos. We're cheering for our teams. Scream for your team this weekend. Scream for college, NFL, fantasy. We got to get this thing going because I'm excited. Oh, wait, we got to go pick up our waivers now that you told me all your secrets.
Ah, man, the worst part of the show is when it ends, folks, because now we got to go do the work. You've already put in your waiver wire picks. You might have to go back and switch a few. I don't know, but don't listen to all the hype out there, and don't listen to everybody just saying what everybody else said. Come by Yards After the Catch, at least get another opinion on it. We appreciate you guys coming. We want to thank Rob Machado, as always, for supplying our badass music for the show. We want to thank Barry, as we do every week, for coming by. Aurora, every week coming by. Some new viewers, David, and everybody that came by to watch this week. If you're watching on the recording, thank you so much. Please go by YouTube, like, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. It's just a button, and it does nothing but help us out. So we appreciate it. We've got a few more subscribers this week, and we thank them and you for being here with us on Yards After the Catch, where we put points over stats and where we love yakking about fantasy football. For the best co-host in all the lands, Roop, there it is. Go catch him at Mr. Football Today on Twitter. I am Christopher Fox, and man, I'm ready for some football. I'm ready for week 5 to start already. Let's get pumped, guys.
Let's get pumped. Let's have some fun. I mean, talk trash, but everybody stay safe. Myself and your wonderful host will be here answering any question, asking you the tough questions, and let's get this started because week 5 starts right now. Like before you go to bed, it's going to happen. So
wait. It starts right now.
Yeah.
Okay.